It's KJY Sports. It's time for us to meet our guests of the week. On this segment of Guests of the Week, we have the opportunity to talk with either educators, sports administrators, and even former athletes. Anybody who we feel will add value to the discourse about school sports. And today we have the opportunity of having a seasoned administrator, someone who has wide experience when it comes to educating our children. And not only that, he also is someone who loves sports, and he has really invested quite some time in promoting sports, especially when it has to do with schools. And today we have the Vice Principal of King's College, Lagos. He is Mr. Akinpelu Amos. It's nice meeting you, sir.
It's a pleasure. You are welcome.
Okay. First of all, does sport have a role in education, and to what extent?
Oh, a lot of roles in education. It's right from the beginning, even preschool age. That's when you talk of children who are just growing up, age 3, 4, 5, and so on. Then coming to primary school before we get to the level we are at, the level where I have interaction with education, that is secondary school level. So it goes across ages.
Can you do an appraisal of the state of school sports, especially? I know King's College is in Lagos, but you've really educated children for quite a number of years. So can you do an appraisal? What is the current state of school sports generally in Nigeria?
Yes, talking about appraising school sports, well, it varies from state to state, but if we come into Lagos State in particular, there are a lot of efforts put in place now with different categories of competitions here and there. But going into the past, there used to be very, very competitive principal corps, inter-house sports, other sporting activities. But of recent, what we experience is that administrators of the states seems to be too busy into other areas, not peculiar to sports. But even at that, private sectors now, some organizations are going into that. For instance, if I may mention King's College, there is this Heritage Corps being sponsored by GT Bank and some other organizations like that. We also have some special sports, chess, Scrabble, being sponsored by different organizations that invite schools to compete at different levels. And the schools have been doing well, but more can still be done.
Yeah. So now the question is, currently, do we have a structure, a kind of structure that is well laid out, that like a policy, I won't call it a structure, a policy that is well laid out, where a principal, a student, everybody knows his role when it comes to school sports? In Nigeria, do we have any structure for school sports?
Yes, you said that. Maybe it's at the operational level, implementation level, that there is problem. Because even the curriculum of the country, the national curriculum, really inculcate into it sporting activities. In particular, we have subjects that are related to sports. That's PhD, physical and health education. And right there, every school has structured activities of sporting, defense, mostly on daily basis. That is just the structure on ground. But the question is whether those who are supposed to be doing it are doing it.
That's a different question.
Yes.
Question. Okay, in building our dialogue today, we want to focus on the report, the synopsis, which I tried to give you, that was written by the European Physical Education Association when they held a seminar concerning, we call it the school sports in Europe. I want to use that to benchmark what we are doing here in Nigeria, and let us use that as a guide to help us in this discussion. And two key points that were raised, especially the focus point that was raised by the Secretary of Education and Human Resources of UPA, that's Manuel Fresta. Schools play a great role in school sports, and he demands that schools must give equal opportunity to all the children. Every child must have equal opportunity and access to sports. Currently, if we use that as the basis, somehow, in the national policy in education, or in national policy of sports in Nigeria, we see where they say some sports are lesser sports, some other sports are more popular sports like football, while some other sports are not even given a mention. Now they are saying every child must have access to all sports. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do, because even at the world level, where our country is also one of the major components, we've always gone for competitions. So what is best practices all over the world is also what we are trying to do in the country. And really, I said that the school curriculum has structured information that permits every school to actually participate in all sports. But the problem is the issue of professionals, personnel, who are the ones to train these children, who have even the experience, the capacity to train these children along all these sports. So the more popular sport like football, athletes, and maybe some of these other elitist like games, like rugby just coming in gradually into the country, then we have the cricket and then hockey. All those ones are somehow being left to some old elitist like schools.
Yeah.
So I think the problem is not whether the policy is there. It's the question of whether there are people who have the capacity to implement what is on paper.
That's a good one. Klaus Schäfer says there is absolute need for physical education in the school's curriculum. An emphasis should be placed in school sports as a complementary means to students' individual development. The key word here is individual development. Most of the time, parents are just considering sports most like just go and exercise yourself and come back and get back. But they are not looking at it creates opportunities for the children and it can help in their development. Now, do you agree with his position?
Yes, I do. I think that is in the time gone by.
Yeah.
Every parent now even sees sport as a means of a future empowerment for the children. You see that some parents are even following children into going into sports, particularly those very popular sports, maybe football, but other sports too, because of the attraction. Long tennis, you see children playing long tennis. And sometimes yesterday or thereabout, there was this polo game that took place
in the
somewhere in the north.
Yes.
So you see young children participating in
polo.
There was a particular young boy who is seeing polo as a game he would want to take up as a professional thing. Yes. And that will show you that because we are part of the world stage, and the sport has really taken over a lot in terms of job creation and wealth. Mostly now you see footballers or other sports enthusiasts being the richest in the world. So many children are looking up to that, and many parents are equally encouraging them. You see, in the past, the emphasis was pure academics, just because of the promise of the future. But now, everybody is coming to the reality of the present day.
That sports is business.
Yes, it's real business.
That's good. Okay, now let us look at. You did mention about manpower, the issues of manpower, and all of that. So now let's start to connect the lines. We have physical education. We have school sports. Are they the same thing?
They are not exactly the same. Physical education is basically education that is structured along curriculum, where school sports is basically on talent hunt. Those who have the skill, and then the system provide opportunity for them to develop their inherent potentials. So they are not entirely the same. You may take physical education as a subject,
yes,
but you may also be a sportsman without necessarily taking physical education. So they are not the same.
They are not the same. Okay, now to the document we were talking about, that the synopsis document that outlined what the practice in Europe. They say in Portugal we have the teachers. That's first. They said physical education is mandatory, but school sports is optional. They say the teacher teaches physical education, but when it comes to school sports, they didn't really mention anything. They say in Germany, they say physical education is part of school sports. So everybody is encouraged to get into sports, while at the same time, they do some level of physical education. Now in Luxembourg, it's same as Portugal. In Finland, they say school sports straight. In Switzerland, they say school sports complement physical education. Now, the question now is, how do you define our system in Nigeria?
Yes, I think I would look at that scenario where school sport complement physical education. Physical education is a subject that is part of the national curriculum, particularly at the primary and junior secondary level. It's elective at the senior level. So it is not something mandatory at that level. Although if we go back again to our educational curriculum, basic education is a matter of compulsion for every Nigerian child. Okay. So at that level, you are given the opportunity, you must offer physical education.
But do they do it?
Yes, because it's compulsory.
Okay.
It's compulsory in the curriculum.
Okay.
So, but when it comes to school sports, again, that is along the line of competition. That also depends on the leadership of every school. Okay. Because even when the program is there, you are invited. Some schools may not have interest. It could be for some other reasons, financial reasons, that they cannot cope with the requirement of some of these sports.
Okay.
So that is why I said school sports, yes, complement the physical education team. And it's not every school that take every sport. Yeah. When you look at Nigeria as at the national level, you see that people will want to even look at football as being synonymous with sport.
Well, yes, some people just define, yes, I agree with you, some people define sports as football. After, when you talk about sports, you just say football. After football, nothing else. Okay, it's good you made that point, that sports is actually bigger than and wider than football. Wow. Okay, now let us look at the relationship between school sports in the Ministry of Education. That I know. I know school sports relies solely in the Ministry of Education. Now, we now have sports development in the Ministry of Sports. Can we focus on the developmental or investment requirement? Because the Ministry of Sports does not, they don't have schools, they don't have the children. The Ministry of Education own the schools, they have the children. Now, but the schools are the ones that really need infrastructure. But the money for school sports has been sent to the Ministry of Sports.
I don't think that's entirely true.
Okay, now.
There is a budget for the two ministries separately.
For developmental sports?
Well, I don't have information on what is practicable at the Ministry of Sport level.
Yes.
But I know in Federal Ministry of Education, all these are components captured in the
budget.
And then the school activities too, like the daily routine captures sports every day at a particular hour of the day. And that again, the ministry provide infrastructure to ensure that takes place. Yeah. Then aside from that, you know that we have school sports, which that's like entire sport now, which is a compulsion for
almost every school.
Every school, yes.
Whether they do it or not, is a different way to get to the fish.
Well, I think it's also a way of promoting even schools now. Okay. Every school will want to do it to showcase the talent, and I know that scouts do go to venues of all these sports to catch them young, particularly for the Ministry of Sports, who want to see talent to develop. Don't forget that we also have all these national competitions, which state governments do look for talent to develop, so that when it comes to competition at the national level on state basis,
Yes.
they have children that they develop to represent them at that level.
Okay, now, initially you were talking about the lack or the drought or the challenges when it comes to the issue of human resources. That means people who will teach those various sports we are talking about. Can you throw more light about this? How can we improve on it? How can we get the required manpower, especially when it comes to the issue of training our children, especially when it comes to sports, especially in the schools? Because I know you have maths teachers, you have physics teachers, you have chemistry teachers, but when it comes to sports, all you have is the physical education teacher. But you see, the physical education teacher cannot teach all sports.
Yes, there are things put on ground to take care of all this. But again, like I said, it depends on the leadership. If you have a leader who believes so much in sports, you see that a lot will be infested. I mean, scoop from wherever to ensure that some of these things are taking place. But when it comes to professionalism, that you cannot develop in a day. So I think that has to be solved at the national level, that is at the policy making level. For some of these things, don't forget that most of what we are learning, even from cradle to secondary, that's our formal education, is not something that originated from us. We copy some of these things from
outside,
particularly our colonial masters. So I think the way we developed right from the beginning, even when we were under colonial system,
was defective.
No. I'm not saying effective.
Okay.
They handed over something to us, and day in, day out, people put their heads together, workshops, seminars here and there, to come up with means and ways of developing this sport. So what I'm saying in essence is, where you don't have, maybe there should be a database of who can do what.
Okay.
Then when you have database, then you'll be able to assess what is exactly lacking. You might not even believe it. There could be some hidden talents or even professionals out there who, because they have not been scooped out,
they've not been found.
Yes, nobody is talking about them. There are some Nigerians out there too in diaspora who are in sports, and perhaps if there are incentives locally here,
they might want to come here.
They will want to come. So incentive is part of it, because yes, sport is recreational, but like we said,
it's now business.
Yeah. So when you take that recreational aspect of it away and you look at the professional side, people want to make it as a form of future
career.
business career.
Yes.
So if it's well promoted, so much that people know that yes, if I take to this, there is every likeness of me
Earning something.
And so I think that will promote.
So will you advocate that one of the requirements before they employ teachers, they must on the form they must write which sports can you whether teach, or what sports have you mastered to a point where you can teach the children? Should it be added as part and parcel of the requirement that an average teacher who is going to go into any school should teach?
Let me say this. You see, most teachers of these days are not really professional in quotes. In the past, before you can become a teacher, say at the primary school level, you go to what used to be teacher training colleges. And their sports was a compulsory subject.
Okay.
Every teacher under training
must master one sport.
Not one. Almost all the sport, because in those days, though maybe with experience of recent time, it was discovered that it's not easy for somebody to master everything. But that was what it was then. Yeah, okay. You have to learn everything, and you are tested and ensure that yes, you master it before you are given the certificate to go and practice. But what we have now is a situation where you now have people who are being professionals and long different disciplines. So at that level, it then means that you will have to bring in different people to man
different sports. Okay, now can we say that the current available sports that we have at the school level, especially at the second level, is it diverse enough? Because all we hear is any company wants to come into. If you say any company wants to sponsor anything in school, the only thing you talk about is either football or something. But is it diverse enough? Do we have enough? Are we encouraging the schools to participate in a wider range of sports to give the children opportunity?
No. And the reason is clear. Even the people that you are talking about, all these organizations,
corporate
bodies, they are doing it to also promote their products.
Okay.
And when they are so doing, they want a situation where enough people will also have idea of what they do. So, for instance, GT Bank that I mentioned earlier is sponsoring football. They know that almost every Nigerian will want to listen to anything about football, therefore promoting their product as well. Okay. And that is the same with every organization. So many of these unpopular sports, I think it has to take the government first to promote those sports by sensitization and public awareness before some of these bodies can really key into it. Otherwise, nobody will want to run at a loss. That's good. Okay, now you did say, especially at the PE level, at the primary level, it was required that you should spend at least some time each day for sports. UPA recommended between 1 and 6 hours per week, but the minimum they say should be 2 hours. Right now in Nigeria, is there a policy that outlines how many hours the children, we are not saying break time, how many hours should the children really participate in sports? Yeah, you see, I think the problem here is schools are not being properly supervised, because there is a model. The Federal Ministry of Education set standard for education in the country, and if you look at federal schools, they have daily routine which involves sport, at least an hour a day. So if you look at that side by side with what is in the policy, the expectation is that every school is supposed to key into that. So I don't have statistics of the schools that have not done that, but I expect that every school should
do it.
Look at what the Ministry of Education Federal Ministry of Education now is providing as a model, and then key into that.
Yeah. One critical question I want to ask at this junction is that Chris Omolabi, a lawyer who somehow, even though he's a lawyer, he loves chess, and one thing he says it's unfortunate for him that he didn't learn how to play chess when he was in secondary school. He learned it when he was in university. And that's because his university then gave the opportunity for him to get involved in sports at that level. But he says one challenge that happened was that the absence of boarding or the gradual phasing out of boarding schools has affected school sports. Do you agree?
Yes. You see, when you look at what I said earlier about daily routine of schools, that is only possible when you have all students in-house, because the routine is so that when you have to wake up in the morning is already defined. What you have to do from that morning till you go to bed at night is well defined. But when you have day students, they spend some time coming to school, then back home on transit is also there. So the routine after normal classes, that's where you have these formal subjects. After that, they don't want to wait for whatever is within the routine of the school. And parental challenges are also there. Parents want to come and pick their children on time because they have some other things to do. Some live far away from their schools of choice, because again, parents look at which school I want my child to attend. So not necessarily neighborhood school, whereby maybe the closing time or whenever the child closes, he has that chance of just walking across and getting home. So all these are part of the contributing factors. And that again is about different in standards. Some schools know what is there in the curriculum and they do it. Again, we have the quality assurance systems.
Yes.
At the federal level, yes. States also have theirs, but whether this monitoring is carried out as they are supposed to be done is another question. I can say at the federal level, yes, they are trying, but I don't have information on what is done at the state level, and then for some of these private schools, I don't have information on that.
What do you think should be the appropriate focus when schools are implementing a school sports program? Yes, the policy, as you have said, outlines it. Now you have now also explained that somehow it's being left like at the discretion of those managing the various schools. Shouldn't there be, and you said there's some form of supervision, shouldn't there be something more structured, something more firm, something that is compulsory? Example, they will tell you if you don't have 5 credits, you can't go to university, or you can't further your education. Shouldn't they also add it that, okay, beyond, if you don't have 5 credits, if you don't have 5 credits and you have not participated in 2, 3, 4 sports, you cannot get university education? Shouldn't something like that be a working option, especially when it comes to integration of the school sports needs, especially for our children?
Well, I won't say exactly yes. Don't forget again that there are issues of natural talents coming in here. You can train some people. Some you may not be able to train. Some are even physically challenged. So if you now make it a condition, there is an exclusive clause there that some are already being left out. So I don't think that should be. Rather, there should be a way of promoting it. That okay, as a nation, we want to also improve our world ranking in
school sports issues.
Therefore, let us help the development from that grassroots, from the very young age level. I know Channel Television, sorry I'm not advertising for them, but I've seen their football development.
Yeah.
And recently, I've forgotten the name of those little. There were 2 particular kids that were focused in the course of last week.
Yes.
I can't remember the day, but I watched it on Channel TV. You could see children of between 9 and 11. The way they mesmerized on the field of play. I mean, it was amazing. So, if we have more of these, then we'll be able to get these talents and develop them, while maybe others can focus other areas. Don't forget that development is not all about sport alone.
Yes.
In fact, the country is particularly lacking when it comes to technology. We are just taking one aspect of it. So we also have to look at the other areas of development.
Yes.
So that what we should do is to ensure that we look at comparative advantage of every child in the area it's gifted, and then develop them along
that line. One of the things you tried to outline earlier was about the challenge where there's an uneven kind of standards, especially when it comes to education, the quality of education provided from school to school. So you have the situation where parents want to take their children, no matter the distance, from one end to the next end, if the child will have an opportunity of having better education. And the next thing you also try to outline that it also now brings up a challenge where it also affects the child when he's going to even participate in extracurricular activities, because sometimes the distance has become a disadvantage. So don't you think there should be a policy in that area by government? Like in America, children are not allowed to go to schools that are outside a particular radius, no matter what. That is the rule. You can only go, except you are going to a private school. But if you are going to a public school, the only public school you must go, whether it be federal or this thing, the only public school you must go within that catchment of where you live, Don't you think that kind of policy in Nigeria will really help us in reversing some of these challenges that we are facing?
Yes, but again, constitutionally, there is well-defined word equity. But the question again is because of socio-economic background, people want to take the best of what they think will help their future.
Yes.
And that again remove that barrier of limiting factor of saying this is what you must do. So if I can afford it, why do you want to limit me? So that is why that may not be practicable in the setting we have now. Again, the school system is not really government entirely government setting. Just like in other countries,
Yes.
that you mentioned, there are private schools and people can go to anywhere to
but that's private school. But
so
when it comes to public school, you must follow what the government has said as a rule.
Yes, we also have rules, even at federal level. You see, there are factors that are put in place. For instance, to go to a federal school, you have what we call that's the merit.
Yes.
Merit is just about national thing. That means if you know you are competitive enough, you can go to any school anywhere.
Yes.
But there is this issue of the quota too,
yes.
which says, oh, because we are trying to promote unity in the country, let every state, let children from different cultural background
come together
and school together.
Yes.
That's another purpose. So there is this peculiarity about countries that will make them to define their system to solve their own inherent problems. Because when you single out sports, you might be creating other problems. But the peculiarity of every country will define exactly the kind of education that they give. And that is what is happening in Nigeria now.
Okay.
We need our children to come together, share cultural heritages here and there, and then grow up to believe in the unity of the country. That's a major factor too.
Yeah. How can we get more school administrators and educators to be more interested in school sports and to put greater emphasis on school sports and make it an essential part of the, because some of the things you have said that you've tried to outline some of the problems, or that this problem, but how can we get around some of these challenges?
Well, you cannot have it uniform. You don't have it, you don't have it. But you can improve on it by creating some level of incentives. Like all these competitions, if they attract
finance.
Yes, incentives that we want even the school administrators to want to take a chance.
Yes.
I think that will go a long way. Well, legislation is also part of it. But then, like I said, it's already in the policy. The curriculum is there. It's right in the curriculum that you must do this, particularly at the up to basic level, which is compulsory for every Nigerian child. But there are other challenges here and there, which is not maybe what you can address here.
As an educator, my last question, sir, is that as an educator, what would be your recommendation to parents? Because there's something we call the 10 messages for parents who are seeking admission for their children. It's one of the things we do on the KJY Sports as a way of informing parents and giving them enough information that would make them make better choice. So now, for you now, we are giving an opportunity to add to it. What would be your recommendation to parents when they are searching for schools for their children? Is it only now, wank?
No. You see, varieties of opportunities to be given to children to excel. As you grow, you start narrowing down to your natural potential. If the child is given opportunity as it's growing up to experiment here and there, that is why even the national curriculum basically is general education. You have it. Then when you get to after that's post-basic now, when you get to after basic level of education in the country, you now start looking at areas. What career do I want to pursue in the future? Then you start narrowing down some subjects on departmental basis where you should go. So for parents, they should realize the fact that every child is not the same. Therefore, allow the children to go according to their potential. Where they are given every opportunity, that's opportunity in everything, then guide them. When you discover your child has a talent, why not help him develop that talent?
It's nice talking to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on this program.
You are welcome.
That was our dialogue with Mr. Amos Akinpelu, Vice Principal of King's College, Lagos. You remember King's College is one of the most popular or the foremost federal school that you have here in Nigeria. And he has really expatiated on a lot of important things, especially when it comes to the issue of school sports. Till next time, when we get to meet again, we'll bring you another very, very, very important guest. And for me, Joaquin Midada, bye for now.